Okay. So this is a selected set of images that I pulled down after looking at, I don't know, maybe 5,000 images or something. Right? I have a couple of videos where I show that process. It takes a long time, but I go through a bunch of generated images and then pull out a select set. And these are all based on different likenesses. So now what I have to do is, because it's kind of like round 2, I have to go through these and figure out what prompts were used. These are all Tourettic cyborg prompts. But what I have to figure out is which one of my likenesses was used for each of these so that I can make a decision about what to spin out more of. I want to make thousands more images, but I don't want to use likenesses that aren't strong. So I'll show you what that process looks like now. I'm using automatic 1111's web UI still for Stable Diffusion. I'm going to fire it up. Wait for my little thing to kick into gear here, and then it's going to open up the interface for me. There we go. Okay, so now I've got the interface up and running like this. Maybe I'll park it over here. There we go. And what I really need to do is to go to the PNG info tab so that I can pull in one of these images and learn about it. Like that one, for instance. I like that one. That's cool. I like the mask on a stick kind of factor here. It's working for me. So I can, of course, put this back in and push it more towards my likeness. But let me first start just by inspecting it. Andrew Frew Face 3v12. So if I go to my embedding inspector and see what I've got listed here, I've got some Brutuses in there still. Okay, so 12, right? 3v12. 3v12. Yeah, 3v12. This is the one. That's the one for that particular image. So if I want to spin off versions of this image, I send this to image, right? And it puts the prompt in there for me, sets all my other settings. I do need to randomize the seed, like this little die, so I get different things. And I can also check the kind of overwrite strength, this denoising strength, right? How much to alter the image. I try to start it off somewhere in the middle just to see what it wants to do with it. What it's going to give me. Generate. Ooh, the face kind of cracks there. Right, so it'll work out different versions. The features will shift around slightly. The likeness will shift around slightly. If I'm really in love with this image, I usually let it crank out a couple hundred images using this kind of method here. Maybe I'll do like 100 of one, and then I'll come down and change this and do another 100 just to try to get, because I don't know, I'm not totally married to whatever I already have, right? See, look, it does interesting things. Just putting puppet strings. What's it doing there? It's like a book light, you know, so it's just going to, like, again, alter small details. Like now it's on like a robot arm. That's applicable to me. That's funny. Right, so I can do this, but I also just need to kind of figure out, I think, what my short list of my own face embeddings is. Because this process can take a little while. I will, like I said, generate maybe, dozens or hundreds that I can then quickly scroll through and find things that are, I think, at least as good or stronger than what I originally worked with. If I want to target more specific areas, like just work on the face or whatever, then a better choice is inpainting. So you send that to inpaint. Oh, it does that weird thing. There we go. Thank you. All zoomed in. Oh, look, the tools are all super small. I guess I need to make this window bigger. There we go. So if I want to inpaint this, then I can choose to just work on certain parts of the image, right? Maybe I like this on the robot arm thing here, but this face is like it's a little weird. It's fine. I want it to work on that for a minute though. So I'm just going to give it the face and say work on that. Just work on that. Make sure to pave that in nicely. What are all the settings here? Look about the same. guess good. Yeah, it's just working on the face there. Here I can, because I'm targeting the face, I can play around with other embeddings, right? So I've got my likeness here, but I've got all these other variations. So what do I have that is 3, 4, and 3 are quite different from each other. They're different photo sets. I trained them on different sets of photos. So 3, V16. So I can go V12, but I could also go V16. And I'll get some different results. Because it's a different embedding, has a different understanding of my face. They're all really weird, though, huh? Again, dozens, maybe not hundreds, but let it kick out 20, 30, 40 pictures and look through those, because that'll give you a better idea of what it's going to take, how far it's going to push it. Change the strength a little bit, generate another one, just kind of the process. I could also try a very different embedding, like one of these, like this 413. This is really powerful, but it's really good at sculpting, and I don't know that it's going to be as good at this job. But let's see. Can't hurt. Wow, yeah, see how much different? It's like bad Photoshop, right? It's like stylistically different. The lighting, it's having a hard time kind of getting in the same gear in terms of the tones and everything, because 316 has just like a different flavor. So here's another cool thing we can do now, having all these. So I'm going to take the 3V12 that it was originally done with. I'm going to plug that in here. I'm going to wrap it in parentheses like that, and I'm going to wrap this other one in parentheses. And the reason you do this in automatic 1111 interface is that you can set the power. So you can have a token at like 0.8, not all the way there, 1.0. There's like 0 to 1 scale, right? And you can go over 1, you can overblow it. So 0.8. I'm going to do both of these at like a slightly reduced power, but try to use 2 of them and see. I don't know. I mean, it's doing more stuff with the mouth now. I think that's the V13 is doing a lot of that lifting. It's pushing a color in a weird way, so I'm going to dial this back a little bit. Try to come up with a recipe that gets the same kind of tones that the original image had, but maybe helps the face a little bit. Oof. Turn that up a little bit. And it keeps like kind of burning in the colors just seem a little off to me. And I think that's this one contributing. Let me dial that one back. Oh, there's like a strong symmetry line right down the center of the face. So that's not in a terrible direction there, but it's still like, to me, it just seems like there's just something off a little bit about this relationship is not quite right. So this is not exactly exciting work, right? I think part of the thing with AI for me, machine learning, AI, whatever the hell you want to call it, certainly working with Stable Diffusion has really helped me understand kind of what it's good at. And I think that you can't expect to just dial in exactly the thing you want, because that's in your mind. And so, while it is possible to get these engines to generate even more complicated, hyper-realistic scenery, when you look at a lot of the embeddings that are out there, they're kind of focused on celebrities or certain kinds of representations that I'm not exactly excited about. So I decided to work with my own likeness and kind of learn how to train. And what I've come to learn is that it's pretty good at doing things I wouldn't expect and creating compositions that are interesting to me, but not things I would have chosen. So I'm trying to work with it as a true collaborator, to let it put in its version of things here. But I do like learning how to steer it and kind of focus it, steer it towards certain goals, because it's a collaboration. So I'll point it to the face or point it to whatever element I think needs fixing. So that's this process here. I will spin this until I get something that I'm in love with, and probably image to image is usually my more That's kind of more of my go-to. I'll save in painting for later because it gets to be too fidgety. But now I'm doing image to image with both of these embeddings. They're mixed. So now I'm going to get that. I'm going to get a push in this other direction. So I might get something kind of like the original composition, but because of the other embedding here, it's going to contribute some of its understanding of my face and cause things to be, like different. This 4V13 is better at weird things. It's better at kind of assemblies and parts. It was trained on photos more from my studio, so it has little elements of robots and linkages kind of baked into it. And the 3V12 is better at solid colors and like that. So they're going to fight a little bit. But I think that the 4V13 is better at my likeness, I think, than the 3 one. So I'm going to dial this one back and dial this. I'm going to go back to this like 0.8 place and just let it redo the whole image instead of just the end painting. Yeah, this might create something I like. I'm interested in some of these. I can even dial this back a little bit now. Let's go back a little bit even more. Let's go back to there. Let's keep it real more similar to the original composition, but using two different embeddings to kind of push around on that. And what I'll do is I'll play like this maybe for a bit until I get bored. And eventually I'll find a kind of a recipe that produces the thing that I want, or gives me, it kind of starts consistently delivering me results that I'm in the mood for. And that's when I'll especially dial it up and let it give me, 50 or 100 or something that I can then, that way I can walk away from the computer for a few minutes and let it do it and then come back and see what it's created. Go through those, find a top choice or maybe two, and then go to work on those and continue to refine it that way. And then what I'm going to end up doing for my next round, so this is the process basically, and then the next round for me is to generate a bunch of prompts based on certain kinds of recipes. So really what I'm looking for in here is like a decent recipe that produces results. Because I can take this and plug this in as a text prompt, right? I can just send it, can't I? Isn't one of these choices send a text to image? Image to image. Yeah, it doesn't have a thing for that. That's funny. Maybe is it here somewhere? Anyway, there's a text to image. I usually turn the steps up a little higher. 20 is like not resolved quite enough for me, and I like the CFG of that. I also turn off this high-res fixed stuff, usually when I'm starting here, just to kind of have it generate the basic 512 image. You can always rerun it through here and have the high-res fix, or you can use extras to get your upscaling. So you run this and you see if you like what it's producing. You kind of, again, come up with recipes. And then I'll run a bunch of prompts based on a text file. So the next thing for me, if I get to a place where I'm kind of starting to understand that certain prompts have a certain flavor, let me walk through this again. So if I do this, I'm on PNG info, starting to see that like 3V12 did decent for me there. 3V12 at a power of 0.06. 3V16 at a power of 0.06. 3V16. That one's beautiful. 3V16. So then this 3V16 seems like a prompt that I need to explore more. And then a question I might have for myself is, am I looking at that? Oh, it doesn't make it any bigger. That's dumb. Is whether I like it when it's dialed back. This is at a power of 0.08, or am I liking more of the stuff when I haven't trimmed it back like that? There's an awful lot in here that are either not trimmed back or trimmed back to 0.8, or just not at all, right? Especially the V, whatever, just 3V16 one, that one. That one is the same one. So this is a random process, right? I go through thousands of images and pull them into this folder. So the fact that I keep getting 3v16, it's like a voting system, right? And even the numbers are kind of randomized because they go with, when I generated 2,700 images or something, this was number 171 out of that. So the numbers are pretty arbitrary, actually, by the time we get to this point. There's a 3v16 again. There's no reason for them all to be lined up like this. Like numerically, there's no, it's just coincidental that I keep getting this same one. It looks like I like it though. That 3v16 comes up with things that I like. There's a 3v6, that's different. There's another 3v6. There's another 3v6. There's another one of those. Okay, so there's a fair amount of those too, I guess. What do I have down here? 4v11. 4v11. They're all lined up though, that's weird. Four v11. Wow, they really are all just like the same run over and over again. There's a 4v4, 4v4.06, 4v4.06. Yeah, it's so weird. They really are all lined up. Oh, I guess I did kind of generate them in these batches. So I guess the numbers do kind of line up in some way. I do so many things I can't always remember. So I think what I did was generated them based on like the likeness type. So right, this order is not random. They are in here by, I'd have to sort them by something else. Sort by date, no. Type, no. Size, they're all roughly the same size. Maybe. There's a 4v4. There's a 3v16. There's a 4v11. Okay, so now they're kind of randomized. But at least here I'm not seeing them together in the same batch, so I can a little bit more, you know, a little bit more subjectively or whatever, kind of step back and, or objectively, I don't know, but I can step back from it a little bit and look at the images just from for what they are and try to figure out what I'm in love with. Like this one, I like this a lot. This is very Tourettic to me. It's like all the arms going out. I want to work on this one for sure. That's part of it too, right? It's just like figuring out kind of what your faves are. And then, again, at some point, after I've gone through this a little bit, maybe for, I'll probably mess with this for a couple hours, honestly, like, you know, off and on, not right now, but I'll keep coming back to this process and I'll try to kind of pay attention to which of these trainings I see over and over again. So if I see a particular, or likeness, embedding, thank you. If I see a particular embedding over and over again, then I will use that embedding to generate a couple thousand more images that I can then paw through and kind of pull out. And the goal for me here is to come up with a set that is way smaller than, so if I look through 5,000 images, I really should only pull out like 20 if I'm being good. And if you do that a few times, you know, you end up with like, I've got like 100 in this folder here. At some point I want to go through and delete. I want to figure out what my favorites are. Like this is one of my favorites here for sure. That's not going to get deleted. But some of these are going to be, after I go through all of this, you know, maybe I pull out like a dozen or something if I'm being good and throw away the other 90 of them so that I can start over again. It's like an effort of not falling in love with things, making sure that they're actually speaking to me. Because otherwise, when you're looking through the images, a lot of things look attractive. And it's only later when you've got them all kind of, you just keep carving away, right? It's editing. You have to have kind of a system. So I've talked about this before. I'm going to copy like the serial number off of that image and make a folder and drop that image in the folder. Give it a second for Windows to wake up there. I'm using the weird sort. I'm sorting by size. So everything is like all weird and jacked up right now. It's all the way down at the bottom. There it is. Boop. All right, so this now is going to become an image I'm going to work on. I moved it, so I think I need to move it there. Definitely image to image. Definitely have to reset the seed. Definitely have to mess with the denoising strength. Here we go. And generate. Let's open this up. Let's make it bigger. I think I need to pull this edge in just a little bit. Oops, sorry. Let's do this. How's that? That's better. Kind of destroys the face. 411B, are you loaded right now? Yeah, you are. 411B. Just want to make sure. And since the strength is turned down to 0.8, 1.0, I'm going to turn that back up. There we go. That way it keeps my face in there. Or continues to work on it. It's already got it. Again, if I like, see now you can see how different it ends up being, right? It can totally rework the composition depending on what you've got this set to. The more that's turned up, the more it's going to rework it. Or if I really like what I originally had, then the real process at that point is inpaint. So I'm just working on the face, or I'm just working on whichever portion I need to fix. Just doing new things to the arms. So I might let this go for a few rounds, you know, give me a dozen or two of this. Look through those, see if I find anything. It's kind of exploratory, right? You're looking. If you go through a bunch and you say, you know what, none of them are doing it. If you generate a couple dozen and they all kind of look big, that's like pop over to inpaint, right? Or send this to inpaint. Is right the rate. There we go. And we're going to clear, and we're going to say, well, not that. Ugh. Inpaint. Let's drag this back in here. There we go. So we're going to start with this one. And we're just going to do the face. Just your face, buddy. Just want to work on this. This is the area I want you to work on right now. So it's going to, you know, it's going to work on this. Remember that it will create kind of an edge there. So consider playing with the blur amount. Sometimes turning it up a little bit is nice, just so that it feathers around the edge. So you don't see like a hard line where you painted your mask. Sometimes you will. But that's doing a decent job, right? It's creating some different faces there. So, and you can kind of jump around with this process. So I could say, let me work on the face, and again, crank it. Maybe have it give me a dozen or so, maybe more. And then I'm gonna look through those, and if I find something in there I'm in love with, then I'm gonna bring that new image back into inpaint and work on the other elements I think need work. Maybe next I work on the arm, or next I work on whatever. I like a lot of this console. The way it's rendered this is fine with me. This hand is kind of disappearing. So, for example, if I don't particularly love that face, let me hit like generate twice more. Just see if I just roll the dice and see what happens. What's my strength? Let me turn this up a little bit. There we go. I want to keep that monochromatic nature. And it's like doing really fragmented stuff. It's like really chopping it up. So I probably will have to play with it for a while, because it's not readily giving me a likeness that I like. It's working on it, but it seems like it's a lot of work for it. I also might need, it looks like it's crunching the nose, like it's having a hard time fitting my face into that thing. So I'm going to open that up, expand the mask a little bit. It's blending it with the arm in a weird way. Ooh, look at that. Sweet Jesus. Paved right over the face. That's nice. Okay, so generate. I really just like so bored right now. So I'm gonna hit this. And I'm gonna jump in here, and I'm gonna try to find, well, good luck. Jesus Christ. Let's get lost so fast. But I'm gonna come down here, and I'm gonna try to find that one that I thought was like serviceable, even though I wasn't in love with it. I think it's this one. I don't know, I can't tell anymore. Oof. There was a slightly like more. Is there one that I like more than that? No, I guess not. Not really. I guess that was that. This one maybe? That's serviceable. Let's work with that guy. Why not? So first thing is, I want to keep this image, because you can easily get lost. You can't keep everything, but it is possible to kind of like just get spun forever. So this is in painting that I'm doing. I'm gonna drop that image in here. Just that way I have it. I'm going to drop it into inpaint because I need to clear my painting, and I'm going to say, okay, so the face is, I guess it's better. I don't know. Let's work on the hand. Let's see if we can do anything with this down here. Can you fix that at all? It's looking a little weird. I either want it to blend it in a more cohesive way or fix it or something. That's a little bit more like a hand. It's less woven into the surface there. I wish I had some fingers. All those other ones have all those crazy fingers. I'd love to get some fingers out of that one. Sometimes you can shove the prompt a little bit. Sometimes you can't. So I could try going fingers. But that, it really can also disrupt the system in a way you don't intend or not give you the results you want. Look, see, well, kind of fingery. Yeah, but don't be afraid to play with the prompt up here too. Sometimes I do get results just messing with stuff up here and being dumb. Fingers, fingers, fingers. Look, see? I mean, it's not... It's a little stupid, but it's not totally stupid. It actually works, right? Even to say things repetitively like that, right? When you look at how it tags images, sometimes it'll say things like there's a photo of me and it was like with his tongue out, with his tongue out, with his tongue out. It was really, really focused on that. So like, right, I don't know if this is exactly the right fix, but it is giving me more fingers. Fingers, fingers, fingers. Seems like it's doing it a little bit. It's trying. It did push it in that direction a little bit more. Hand with fingers, fingers, fingers. Because this is only for this inpainting, right? So I'm only messing with the prompt at the level of inpainting. And if I can force it to generate more of a hand, more of a finger thing. So that's like a little closed hand just sitting there. And it's hard for me to keep track because since I'm... Oh, look at that. Oh, that's super hideous. But I like it, so I'm going to keep that one. I just find I get too many images in this folder, and eventually it gets kind of overloaded. So, now technically, it was inpainted from that image. So, like, if I'm really doing my thing here, I would then go in paint and take this new penis thumb thing and put it in there. Is that right? Did I move that right? I did. And I would want to work on these hands too, especially now that I got like hand with finger, finger, finger going. Like maybe it's time to also like do. But this is going to give me that other image if I want to use this image, right? This is what you have to keep track of. Like now I've got an image, I'm editing it. I need to drop that in there because I would like that creepy thing that it created, but now I want to work on another hand. So you had to have a way to kind of keep putting in the same product to lather, rinse, repeat here. And if you don't care about keeping track, obviously you can just keep saying, when you get to one you like, you can just go send in paint and it'll just shove it there. But I'm still learning a lot and I'm really trying to keep track of the process. So I usually track the images and how I got there. They're pretty small, 512 images. They're only 512 pixels wide, so they're not real big. Except these aren't 512s, these are whatever they are. And another penis finger. Sure, now I'm Edward Penis Hands. That's nice. Just a little product bump for that movie there. You're welcome. Producers of that movie. That's free. So right, so you can just, if you don't care about tracking all the individual steps it took, you can just hit send this to inpaint. It'll take this image, send it over here, and then you can just kind of, oh, we'll try this hand this time. And I could mess with the prompt, of course, to try to... just severed it, just chopped it right off. Yeah, it's chopping it off. That's too bad. I really like it, actually, with all the fingers. I kind of like what it already had, so maybe I won't mess with it that much. But these all now become fodder, right? And I can come back to any of these and continue to work on it. And Do I want this more cohesive one? Do I care? I kind of lost it at this point. I don't care. I'll come back, you know. And again, select, delete, just go away. Who cares? Every once in a while, I'll just delete everything. So I'm now knee deep in this process where I've got to kind of go through, try to do some like inpaint or image to image of these things. Here's where I am now, my process, right? I've got about 100 images to kind of just go through. Let me just sort these. I can't stand this. Hold on a second. Sort by name. There we go. That way the folders go up here. As I discover an image I want to work on, I create a folder for it to create kind of at least a place for the workflow. Like those images I just created, those all have a thing. Here's some I did previously. And after I get enough of these keepers, then I will definitely go back and at least look at and try to figure out what embedding was used to make these, and then with that specific recipe, that embedding at that weight, whatever, I will crank out a bunch more, and at some point I'll end up with a set of images that I'm just totally in love with. But for me, it's a process. So